You're listening to
Fresh Out the Game.
Man, I be so fresh.
Fresh Podcast Network.
בלי קשקושים.
Straight from Tel Aviv, Israel.
רק מה שמעניין.
Let's go.
Hi, my name is Hilal Leizarovich.
And I'm Ron Avon. We are two entrepreneurs from Israel, and we are on a journey to find out what makes entrepreneurs, investors, and CEOs,
Succeed or fail.
and we hope to inspire your journey. Okay, so hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of TLV DNA. And today with us is Ira Belsky, the co-founder of Artlist. And as usual,
Hilal Leizarovich.
Hey guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Great to be here.
Good to have you.
So tell us a bit about Artlist, so our listener will know you, and then we'll...
Sure. So Artlist is a digital asset platform for filmmakers, which an easier way to put it is music, footage, sound effects, templates, any sort of digital asset that video creators might need to use in the project, we provide with a license to use, essentially stock for filmmakers.
Okay, but that's something we all know about, and there are existing products out there. Tell us your differentiator.
So it's sort of quality meets simplicity of license and ease of use with a very accessible price point, a subscription model, which sort of wasn't around really, in the space before we got into it. Today it's more common, but we were pretty much disruptive with that as well.
Tell us your personal story as a video editor in the beginning. That's what led to the idea, right?
I think like the classic sort of, I want something better that I can use, let's try to build it story. So I was producing, editing, filming videos for client work for about 6-7 years. And using, similar products that are now sort of our competitors in the space. Back then, the industry was like, there was a huge gap between like the high quality stuff that was expensive and very complicated.
Very expensive, yeah.
Yeah, and complicated to license as well, which is something that people sometimes outside of the industry tend to sort of underestimate. Like when you're editing a video and you don't have a legal team to consult with, trying to choose like the right license for you can be pretty nerve-wracking, and you don't really know and it's a blocker for you as a creator. So we want to sort of bridge that gap and bring something that is both extremely high quality, accessible price point, and very easy to license, very easy to understand, like simplified. Back then there were some products that were easily licensable, but usually very low quality. So sort of the combination was where we came in, and my idea sort of came in. We started with music, by the way, and then gradually added other asset types.
So
No, go ahead.
okay, so you disrupted the business model.
I think I like to put it where we identified the next generation of users better than people did before we came into the scene. So I think that was the...
All right, now how did you identify it? Was there like a research for you, or did it really came out of you, out of your experience, out of your...
I lived and breathed it, back then. So it was, for me, extremely obvious. I was like, if you bring me this product, I'm going to buy it, hands down. And so I was like, if we build it and it's going to be like, what I imagine it to be right now, I was under the assumption we just need to let people know it exists. They will probably buy the subscription. It actually saves them money, and elevate their videos to, better quality. So, for me, it was very natural to understand like what users are looking for. From my perspective, as humble as you can be, you have your sort of view of, this is what I think people will want to use.
But if you take the other side, the musician and the artist side, the reason they were keeping the rights and the money, it's because they wanted to give value to their work. So how did you break the barrier of making it one price for everything, make it cheaper?
So it's not really exactly like that, especially with music, because usually when you look at sort of the people that actually license music for high prices, that actually make a living out of it, are like a fraction of musicians. You have an industry where 99.9% earn $0 from anything, usually. So, and back then what happened is most of the money that was coming from sort of the video industry to the music industry was for stock, which usually weren't like, real musician creating their art. It was people producing, as much as they can in order to maximize profit, which, I'm totally up for. But if you talk about the real music industry, they didn't get a chance to really get a grab of that sort of income, revenue stream that's coming from this new world of licensing. So I think where we came in was like, what we're taking is not from sort of the musician space, we're bringing money from the stock industry into the real music industry. So it was added money any way you look at it. It wasn't like coming down out of something else.
So correct me if I'm wrong. An artist or a video editor comes on board your system, and then he just goes ahead, pay his yearly subscription, and go ahead, use it all.
Yep.
Unlike other subscriptions or stock photos, stock sounds, effects, whatever it is, which usually you have to search for it and search for it and search for it, and then decide, I'm going to buy this particular track, sound effects, whatever it is.
Yeah, so I think sort of the subscription approach there was, we looked back then at Adobe and what they did sort of to the industry. And the mindset of new creators was, they were really comfortable with viewing, the post-production side as a service. And our thoughts of like, our goal was always to provide them with creative freedom was, if you start, worrying about, do I have the budget for the song I want or not, then that's not a creative process. So how do we enable sort of a creative process within that? And our approach was unlimited. Sort of, if I already paid for the subscription, from that moment on, sort of you made this one business decision, you're free to sort of only be in a creative space, mindset, so yeah, that was the approach for the subscription.
Beautiful, I loved it.
Let's go to the beginning of Artlist. So you have a great idea, and the first team was actually friends, right? You will tell us about it in a minute, but I have a question. So you gather your team, and you have the idea, and you have the technology, but then I guess that you have a gap because you need to create the first pool of music. So how did you mind the gap?
Yeah, so I think every marketplace sort of has that chicken and egg situation where you're like, what do I get first? Do I have the users or I have the supply? No one wants to come before I have the other. Our sort of, I think, good luck at the situation was that with music, and we actually wanted to start off the site with both music and footage. And at some point during building it, we realized that footage requires a ton of content in order to be relevant, and music needed a lot less and more accurate. So if you, for example, imagine, you're looking for a happy song for a food commercial. I pretty much can give you 5 songs that typically will work for 90% of the people who are searching that. If you're looking for, a kid eating a watermelon at the beach, if I don't have that, like footage-wise, I'm not helping you at all. Like, you don't need an adult eating a watermelon or a kid eating strawberry. You need a watermelon. So numbers were really different. So that's why we decided to start with music, because we were like, well, if we can get like 1,000 good tracks that are well sort of covering the space to begin with, we're actually going to be able to provide value. So we were able, because we had two musicians as founders, to produce a lot of songs, sign a lot of people we knew, or like, okay, I have nothing to lose, let's host it and see what happens. So we're not really I think the textbook definition of a marketplace. We like to call it more of a curated marketplace. So we were like, let's curate something that we feel is going to be relevant from the beginning. And thankfully that worked and, gave enough value for people to buy the subscription. And from that moment on, you already got, traction
And now you have people asking something on demand and you create it for them?
So no, we never worked on a sort of on-demand basis for anything. We, of course, listen to our users, but the idea is how, we take this thing that someone asked and make the product better for everyone using sort of his request. That's the mentality, never had hoc for specific request. We never really wanted to go that sort of hire freelancer or something that route.
How do you map the initial needs for a full library?
By sort of understanding the business, we first of all studied all the other competitors and sort of built what we believe the base of a good catalog, and from our understanding of the industry.
So it's not coming from the users, like Ila asked, is you predict what will be valuable for the users to use in a general mode.
And
when
he
we
also
started,
had someone to learn from, like he said,
Yeah.
he saw the competition, he know what to keep and what to change.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the beginning. Obviously now with millions of people using our products, we do have surveys, we track what they download, we track what they search for, so we're a lot more oriented to their specific needs.
All right, millions of users. Our audiences are listening and they say, wow, millions of users. Let's go there. Let's start and tell us the journey, how you market it, how you penetrate the market.
So maybe, we can go back to sort of how it started.
Go ahead.
So we, as I said, this came out of a need and we started building it, to be honest. We didn't know what Bootstrap is back then. We didn't obviously identify as a Bootstrap or even understood we're in the tech growth space at all. So we were like, we're just building a product that we feel people will want to use, and maybe we can, make a living out of it. We'll see, see what happens. So it was me, Asi, Asaf Ayalon, Eyal Raz, and Itzik Elbaz, and
4 co-founders.
Yeah, 4 co-founders. So it was started off by me, sort of. I remember I used to recommend to some of our musician friends, look, you can make music and sell it in these other sites I'm using and make a living. And I wanted to start create After Effects templates and maybe stock footage. And then one evening I was thinking to myself, well, this product I'm using, I'm actually only using 50 songs that are relevant to me. And I already ran out of music, and everybody else I know are using it. If we get something that even has amazing 500 songs and are added, updated on a weekly basis, that will be, I think, more that will provide more value to users than what's currently out there. So I was I had this drive. I went with Asi, who's a good friend, amazing musician, very well established. I was like, look, I think we can sort of just build a website, have our songs in it, instead of, keep recommending you and other friends to submit to other websites. And I think it will be good enough even for us to make a passive sort of income and work on it on the side. And he was like, I don't really understand what you're talking about, but I mean, sounds interesting. I trust you. So then we started toying around with the idea, and Eyal, which I introduced Asi and Eyal, and they worked together in Asi studio. We said, we need a lot of music. You want to come join us? He was like, yeah, let's give it a try. And then I think like 2 weeks later, we were looking for someone to help build a website. We didn't even know like, R&D, UX, UI. We're like, we'll build the content. Now we need someone to build the website. So I had a good friend from the army who used to work at Mellanox, Itzik, who's now co-CEO as well, together with me.
And he's a UX expert.
Yeah, he's coming from an R&D/UX background. And he was like, sounds like an interesting idea. He knew like us as an established musician. He said, I feel like you guys are going to bring good content. Yeah, let's give it a shot. And we like worked at it a year and a half while keeping our other jobs. I was freelancing. Itzik still worked at Mellanox. Found, some coders at Fiverr. Itzik managed that. Me and him used to sit, build prototypes of the website. I actually designed the first designs for the websites, identified what we want to use content-wise, product-wise, together the four of us. So real bootstrap, no investment, nothing, just we're using some of our money, to hire like a coder here, someone to build a backend there. And then at the beginning of 2016, we launched the site. Funny story there was that, just to put it in context, like it's one of the hardest things, especially when you're a bootstrap and you don't know online marketing at all, is how do you get people to even know you're launching a product? But because I was like really into like the video space, I knew all the blogs that I used to read, like, and I was like, if, I saw this product here, I would probably be interested in buying it. So we sort of got in contact with them, like me personally, like a few months before we've launched. We were like, hey, come be our beta testers. Let's offer your subscribers, your readers, like a few free songs and stuff like that. So they actually, published a few articles about us before we launched. And then the day we were aiming to launch like the 28th or something like that of February. And 2 days before, Itzik was like, hey, let's run a test for the real PayPal to see that everything works and the payments work and the account is open and everything, not on a beta, on a test environment, like on the real. And so we put the site live and was going to test it out, and someone bought an actual subscription before he was able to test it out, which was like, okay, something's happening.
Oh my God.
Yeah, something is happening. So then the rest is sort of history. People pretty much constantly every day bought subscriptions. Since we started, we really quickly realized, hey, we have something here. Everyone quits their jobs. Let's focus on this. Let's start hiring other people to help us. And
let's focus on that for a second.
Sure.
How do you scale up with people that you started as friends, but now you need to recruit, you need to pay, you have a responsibility, salary, stuff that you didn't have before? Tell us about the process.
Yeah, it's really interesting, like how things sort of transition. Like, because you start off building a product. You're not a manager of people, let alone, running a company or building structure, processes, departments, teams. So first hires are like, let's just get this guy to help, we need someone for marketing. Hey, we know you're great. Can you come just advertise us? And we know this guy, is from the music industry, is from the US. He can help with support, artist relations. And you start to just gather people around you. And, you reach that point of like, now we're 10, 15 people. Do we need any sort of structure? Like what meetings we have? When are we coming to work? Do we have a timeline, time frame? Even like, start organizing, like employee contracts and other things that you are like, I don't want to deal with this stuff. I just want people to help me build the product. So yeah, it's a transition, and you need sort of, your question also touched on the founder sort of side of things. And I think one of the great advice that we got from when we started, we had a lawyer help us build the terms of use and other things, and also the sort of partners agreements that was back then before we had shares, options, anything like that. It was like just how we define the relationship between us. And one of the things that he said was like, real partnerships like between founders is more close to how you treat your family than people you work with or employees, in like the essence of the relationship. And what he meant is that, yes, one of you guys one day can say, I'm now going to move to Mexico and be on the beach. And his percentage of the company is still his percentage. You can't fire a founder. It's a relationship. And it's like, you can have someone in your family that you have, it's harder for you to connect with them. It's still, your family. So founders are the same. So I think understanding this from the get-go and understanding whatever happens, I'm not disappointed with family. I'm not going to be disappointed with founders, is a great way to get into it. And it's a different relationship that you just need to sort of understand. This is the relationship I'm getting into, and it's for life.
I love that point of view, and I think it's very valuable for our listeners to understand that point of view about founders becoming a family. And if we're dealing with family, let's talk about your twin, your co-CEO, and try to explain us about that decision and how does it work for you?
Yeah, so we played around with different structures of how we build. We for a long time didn't have a CEO position. We were like 4 founders and then employees, managers in the company. And we toyed around with different ways we can do it. Even tried like a 4-3 CEO, all kinds of things. And it was more around like focus. So I think me and Itzik are moving extremely fast together. So we understand each other really fast and well, I think. It's funny because we just like now, and we'll get to it maybe later in the podcast, but we're building like the new management, and as the company grows, you're building new levels. And because we used to sit with the managers, and now what we used to call the management team is like 30 people. And you can really have a meeting of 30 people to discuss the weekly ongoing. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at is that with that, we're trying to bring some of how we used to make decisions to a larger forum. And then you start to thinking about how we actually work together. Because you when you're used to working together, you're not really defining anything. You're just working together. And, you find out like that you need to sort of, I think the basis of everything is have sort of a common point of logic where you're coming from. And if that works, then I don't remember even a decision we made which was like, I disagree, but let's do it. Usually it's like, if we have 2 different ideas and in a rational discussion, you don't have a winner from these 2, then you don't disagree. You agree that we have 2 great ways we can do it, and we need to choose one. And that's okay that it's not going to be mine, the one that I brought.
But let's agree on one.
Yeah, because if I couldn't reasonably convince that mine is better, then they're probably pretty much equal, and we need to do something and see how it goes. So it's that level of not even going there in terms of disagreeing. We try to rationalize decisions. Nothing is, the end of the world. It could go my way, his way.
There's no ego inside.
Yeah, it's still our way
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Yeah, because, if the interest is common, like we have exactly the same interest, then everything's okay. And I think part of the being co-CEOs sort of take out of the equation the sort of places where you can have friction. So I think if we were maybe positioned differently, then I don't know, maybe it could have been like, I'm trying to sort of make sure I have an influence or whatever. But this way, everybody, we're both very comfortable with our position in the company. So it's...
And how you harness the other management to your vision, and especially now on COVID, then you said that you're big
Yeah. So now we're 150 employees, hoping to become 300 this year. So really looking for amazing people to join the team. And so we had structures that were okay to deal with 150. Now we're trying to transition into something that can handle 300 and more, which is completely different mindset. It's a good question, and we're in the process, trying to learn from as many people who have experience where we are right now. You need sort of to better define sort of the structure. The org chart is changing all the time. And to understand, first of all, we're working agile across the company, meaning that from finance to HR to development, everyone is working in 2-week sprints. We're planning together as a company the PI, which is the quarterly planning, and everyone's working on Jira, so all the tasks are organized. So alignment comes from there, and the teams are responsible to sort of dictate their teamwork and capacity. So it's less about alignment, more about strategic forward thinking that we're now working on with sort of a larger forum, not just me, Itzik, maybe Eyal, the other co-founder, and sort of a small team, and enlarge the team. So
try to elaborate on that process, because it's a big challenge, going from 100 to 200 and from 150 to 300. With who do you consult? How do you research that?
Yeah, so trying to reach and get advice from others, big CEO, presidents, other, founders from larger companies, 500,000, 3,000 employees companies. We have a great board member. We used to be the COO and CEO of GoDaddy, and for 10 years. So he took, he was with the company from, I think, 50 to 3,000. So always listening to his advice, obviously. That's why he's in the board. And other people alike, some agile coaches and people that are like from the sort of HR space that are specializing in this type of sort of management and sort of organizational structuring and yeah.
All right. There's big romance around your venture, starting from a small kibbutz in the north in Afikim. By the way, there's more startups coming from Afikim, not only you. I know in the past, like
What's a kibbutz?
what's a kibbutz? Yeah. There's, like I said, a big romance around it. Try to elaborate. How does it start from this, this small room, you in the studio?
And tell us what a kibbutz, please.
Define a kibbutz for our listeners as well.
So first of all, none of us are from a kibbutz, by the way. We started there as sort of a place we found in the area. We're all from the north of Israel. Me, Eyal, and Asi are from moshavs in the Golan Heights, which Moshav is basically a small village.
Mm-hmm.
Kibbutz is a bit different. Kibbutz is sort of a shared community. It's an idea that started in Israel way back and sort of is changing his sort of structure now, but it's a unique sort of form of living. And then our story really is that, we're from the north, all of us, the founders, and we started from home, and then, we wanted a space. So we sort of found something in the middle. So this was our garage in that sense. We took, I think a space for like 8-10 people to begin with. And like every few months expanded. It was like an old warehouse space that has like empty spaces in the side, so we used to always like let's break this wall and put a door here and take this part and this part, and we grew there to like 30 or 40 people there. Very much hustling.
Is it still there today?
It's still there, yeah. It's still there. I wasn't there in a long time, so I need to go check it out. I don't know who's sitting there now.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what was the moment that you understand, okay, we're not a bootstrap anymore. We actually have a huge growth. We are more startup-like.
Yeah, so I think we always were. I think the transition wasn't from a bootstrap to startup. It was from a bootstrap to a company, in our mind. Like I think bootstrap mindset is something that stick with you. I really like the saying that startup work for the investors and bootstrap work for the users. Because at the end of the day, our users paid the salary for our employees at the first 2 years of the company. So our focus was how we get them happy so we can grow the business. They were the one that were investing in us. So I think that mentality stays with you. The sort of focus around value to users is something that's still a core part of the business, and not worrying about is my investor happy, or more long-term sort of business strategy that investors can live with, but more focusing about, are the users happy now? What can we do to bring more features, more content to them? But you do start to transition to a more company mindset, which is, for us personally, how do we, stop worrying about only product? Because until like now, when we hired a VP product, me and Itzik still did most like not hands-on, but product was sort of concentrated with us. We were like the crossroad from everyone building the product. And then you were like, I need to focus on the company. I don't have the attention to bring to the product what it deserves, the attention it now deserves. And then you start to understand, I need to work on processes, I need to work on structure, I need to work on building new management and how managers sort of build and bring culture that we want to have in the company. It's a lot. I think in general, I have to say, like being a founder, if everything goes well and the company keeps growing, you actually need to learn a new profession every couple of months. Like it's a completely different profession, like from what I did half a year ago even. So it's
your title changes with the phases.
Yeah, even
the
if
evolution of the company.
Yeah, and even if the titles is still co-CEO, you being a co-CEO of 50 people, 100, 150, completely different roles, completely.
Got you. And where is that point you understand you need an investment to create a scale growth and you actually go and recruit the funds?
So it's a great question, because we were cash positive all the way through till today. We never till now needed
Many envy you right now.
Yeah, so sorry about that, but that's how our story went. So till today, we don't need any investment to grow the business. 2021 forecast, cash flow positive. We don't need external money to sustain and grow the business. The idea came from, like, we felt it was the right decision from two different aspects. First, like the more sort of I think technical thing is, you want stability, you want to have the ability to make sort of decisions that are more maybe drastic, and you need that sort of money in the bank in order to be more aggressive,
to be backed up.
Yeah, and we can get to us buying Motion Array, which was a $65 million deal. You need external cash to do that. And we wanted to be in a position that if we have a good opportunity, we're in a position we can move forward on that. And the other was a mindset shift, which was, I think, more crucial. So for us as founders, when you're a bootstrap, it's really hard to not look at every, dollar you're spending as something you personally spend. So, you're seeing the checks you're writing Google and Facebook for advertising, or like, I can't believe I'm investing that money. And having that sort of investor and be a company with a board and detach yourself from sort of the company in the financial state of mind, I think was crucial to be more aggressive for growth and to take bigger bets. So I think, it was that combined with that, with someone that we felt sort of view our vision and can be helpful also with connections, structuring, other things, which led us to make the decision to go ahead and get an investment.
What was the amount of the investment? At
The
that
first
round?
one wasn't disclosed, so unfortunately I can't disclose it. The second one was 48 million.
48 million.
Yeah.
And how do you prepare for that? How do you prepare for that fundraise?
Yeah, you suddenly have a pitch and deck and everything.
We never had a deck actually.
No, okay.
All
So
right,
you
that's
must
a
tell
new
us
one.
that. Tell us,
Listen
yeah.
carefully, everybody. Let's.
Again, the answer might be a bit annoying for people. When you're cash flow positive and you don't need money, the process is different. So we always had people reach out to us, like saying, if you're interested, we'll be willing to invest and other things. So we never sort of got into a process where we advertise ourselves for investing, for investors to invest in us. We got offers, and then the first investment was like a VC fund called Elephant that were really focused in our space, really wanted to make an investment in our sort of very niche down space, and came very well prepared, and that sort of was the reason why we suddenly decided to take an investment, because prior to that we really weren't moving conversation forward with investors on our part. The second one, we were more surfaced, like people heard about us a bit more, although we never were part of, we didn't do podcasts like this one, we weren't around promoting ourselves, but we started to get more noticed, and we started to get more and more VCs and private equity reach out, and Elephant, the investor that we already have, was like, hey, we can sort of help if you guys want to not waste a ton of like time on it, like stretched out on months. We can sort of tell you guys like 5-6 guys that are worth actually talking to, and we can do it while you guys are in New York and other place, and like just see if you guys are interested. Let's just focus it down. And we're like, yeah, okay.
And how do you choose like the right one to go with? What you considered in the process?
It's a good question, and you never know, because you go only one route. If you made the right decision, we were extremely happy with the decision we made. We had this sort of balance. So our first investor was extremely sort of boutique and small VC fund from New York that specialized like in Bootstrap, e-commerce, SaaS in business, that we fitted like exactly to what they were looking for. The second one was one of the biggest private equities in the world, KKR. They're running, I think, $200-something billion of assets, and they were like a part of the growth London team within this huge organization. So it was like, Elephant was really helpful with like being really hands-on in our space. KKR brings a ton of structuring, a ton of connection. So we feel like it was a great balance for our board. At the end of the day, you need someone that understands your business. If you're in a position where you can choose, I think it's extremely important to choose someone that you feel like the vision you present is exactly the vision they're looking into the sort of the business. I think it sets the ground for a great relationship going forward.
A synced vision between you and the VC.
Yeah, because then everything is easier if you're going the same direction.
All right, going forward into the future, what are your plans with the product?
So we have a ton of plans. We feel like we have an amazing opportunity, and we're in an amazing position to sort of lead the video creator stock space, and other things that we also have in the plans. We recently acquired Motion Array, which added templates and other sort of effects to our asset type that we have. So we currently have from music, footage, sound effect, templates. Motion Array also have some images, although that's not a focus for us right now. So our vision is sort of to bring everything into one place, to build a sort of one-stop shop subscription where you can get everything in one place. Still working on the structure and the product of it. It's definitely in the process. We want to bring a ton of personalization into the product. So a lot of recommendation systems, getting sort of the system to know the user and be helpful. And a ton of other things. Content, obviously, investing millions of dollars into new content, top tier content, hoping to sort of set a new standard in everything we do. So a ton of things.
I understand you're executing Artlist originals, right? What is that about?
So we have Artlist original, we have ArtGrid original, now building templates original, we have SFX original. So essentially our catalogs are comprised of two types of assets in terms of how they come into the catalog. It's either external artists, which we pay royalties to, and our contributors, they're individual and owned by them content that they grant us the right to license to our users. And the other type is our original works, which is basically productions that we hire people to create.
So it's basically how you started.
It's basically how we started. We always did it, by the way, throughout. So we have our teams that are usually producers and creative directors for these. And we have hundreds of freelancers around the world that we're working with, really handpicked, like the best people, hopefully, in the world, trying to get to the best people and work with them to try to bring sort of the next generation of content to creators. So it's always amazing to be on the creative.
How you maintain the relationship with the people that you recruit for the...
So we have teams that are usually divided into people communicating and people who are sort of creatively directing freelancers. And yeah, the teams are in ongoing relationship with them. It's really amazing. You get things like, I don't know, if you look at the music space, you get like, we have a ton of singers, performers, producers, and the team is like, let's create this type of album and combine this guy with this, singer and this producer. Let's get them to create something in this genre. We have this idea, and then they're like sort of bringing them together, guiding them artistically, and they create different, amazing albums. So it's like an amazing creative process.
At the end of the day, you're asking a yearly subscription from users. And Hila asked about it before, but it still annoys me to understand at the end of the day because there are different competitors. So how do you provide that endless content, okay, with this yearly subscription?
So first of all, royalty-wise, a percentage of the revenue of each product is allocated to royalties. And like that's the technical side of it. And then that pool get distributed according to the amount of download each of them has. So essentially, yes, users tend to, over the years, download per user more content, which sort of might devalue the price per download. But at the end of the day, it's extremely simple. You have this pool of revenue and you have this amount of contributors. So any way you put it, it's an allocation of percentage versus actually downloads. So the downloads just, compose, at the end of the day, a percentage that you as an artist have made this year from this platform. So we're proud to say that each year the average we're paying per contributor keep growing, which is amazing because we get more and more contributors. It's really hard. It's a balance between how many new users you get and how many new contributors you get on the site, but we keep growing that as well. And we're also proud to say that we're paying millions of dollars each year to musicians, filmmakers around the world. It's extremely humbling to be on the paying side and on the side that, provide new income to people. I remember like the second year of payment, royalties payment, we saw one of our musician post an Instagram post with him, like a baby and his wife in front of a house with a sold sign. He was like, "Thank you, Artlist, for enabling me to buy a house."
Beautiful.
And you see that and you're like, we're in the growth business, but there's so much more to it. It's extremely humbling.
Especially in the music industry, as you said before, it's hard. It's a hard industry, and
Especially, yeah.
and you provide them the platform.
You're looking at the industry for the past, I don't know how many years, until like 2 years ago, that was declining. This is the first 2 years that the industry is actually on the rise, and we're extremely happy to be on that side of the coin. So, yeah.
So just so I'll digest it the right way about the business model. At the end of the day, it throws me to that, 90s all-you-can-eat restaurants where you say, yeah, they eat more, but there's a limit to how much they can eat. That's how it works.
Yeah, and also you need to take into account that with food or any physical item, your cost grows drastically. We have costs that grow, servers and other things, but it's not that drastic. So the question is just, do we allocate, the revenue fairly? We feel extremely, proud that we are extremely fair to artists and that our artists are happy.
But it sounds like your competitive advantage that depend on the people themselves.
On the users or the
contributors?
On the contributors.
Yeah,
they're a huge part of our
family.
Our family and of the value we produce. They help us produce value. Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, the videos themselves that the people create changed. Now you see YouTubes that are 10, 20 minutes long. People need 5, 6 songs per video. We're talking, I think if you guys remember, the beginning of the internet was like, don't create over like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
It was always like
1
a minute.
minute tops.
It was like 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds. It always went down. Now you see people creating longer content, deeper content, telling the stories in a more meaningful way. With that, they're using
Bigger
more
needs.
songs per video. That doesn't mean there's any abuse to the music there,
Is the tracks or the FX, the sounds, does it have a limitation in any way? No. Anybody can use it as much as they use it. It could be on thousands of videos all over the world.
So I know that we're the simplest, most given license out there, and there's a couple of ways how we were able to achieve it. So first of all, you can use it any way you want, worldwide, from commercial work to YouTube videos, Instagram, whatever, promotional work, paid for hire. And every song you download is yours to use forever. And that's sort of something that we stand out with. And one of the big reasons we were able to do it is the yearly subscription. So some of our competitors who have a monthly subscription, you can't really offer lifetime use for songs with a monthly subscription. Because someone can sort of go in, turn it on for a month, download,
abuse it,
100 songs he needs for the next year, and never needs to pay again for the users. When you transition for an annual subscription, the mindset of the users change completely. Now, he views it as a part of his tool set of how he create content. And there is a lot less abuse. We found there is a lot less abuse of the music. Because, if you get it for a year already, you're not going to download 10,000 songs, have it on a hard drive. You don't have any way to sort it. It's going to cost you way more to find songs than it was to pay the subscription. And you get no new content, so it's not really practical. When you're looking at the monthly subscription, it's really easy to sort of say, I know what I'm doing the next 3 months. Let's download it now, turn it off. That's not fair to artists. So all of our monthly competitors don't have that option in their subscription. They're like, you can only use it for project you were working on while you had the subscription active, which is another limitation.
I think that's your biggest disruption, changing the user's mindset about your collections and the stock itself.
Yeah, because you don't turn on and off Spotify or Netflix. It's just,
it's there.
It's there. So that's more of a consumer side of things. Let's go to the more, tool set side of things for creatives. You don't turn on and off your Adobe subscription for your editing software. it's a part of your process. That's why most people will choose annual for Adobe, because they know they're going to use it anyway. You're not going to turn it off for a month because you don't have anything to edit. Yeah, so that's a big change that we're trying to bring.
I agree with the mindset, but I still think about brands that have like their specific voice. Like, I think the most known Israeli is Yotveta and Nekasheva. It's like two brands that the minute you say you hear the song, the music, you know this is their commercial. You don't even have to watch it. You don't hear them to say the name. You just
And it's even copyrighted.
yeah.
At the end
So
of the day.
Yeah.
what do you do for someone who wants this unique,
So we're not trying to replace the work of incredible people who create on-demand, tailor-made soundtracks for brands or for cinema. If you need tailor-made music, you're going to go to someone to create that music for you. We're not even aiming to sort of replace big brands who need a Beatles song. If they need a Beatles song, they want the feeling that a Beatles songs is giving the people who are seeing the commercial. I can try to make a song that as good as the Beatles. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for that specific feeling that you get hearing that song. So we're not even trying to replace that. I think what we're trying to do is replace a ton of other uses for music. So music, most of it you won't remember. If it's not like the same song for the same company coming on like for years, you're not going to recognize how many times you hear the same songs on TV. I can tell you because I recognize our music in commercials all the time, and you can't believe how many of them repeat in the same commercial break, like 3 times the same song that I know we created. It's really, if it brings the right feeling to the video, it works. So there we bring a ton of value. Some people still need tailor-made music. That's okay. We're not going to create the next Stranger Things season is not going to use Artless music because their signature sound is their signature sound. Although we have great songs that could work for them as well, exactly for them. But they want that uniqueness because that's the identity of the series. So. Yeah.
Yeah, but as you said, the market is very different today out of the YouTube revolution. There's so much more videos and millions of more videos and the content. You cannot reach the entire content, even if you want to. So at the end of the day, the market of people who are editing videos, creating videos is so much larger than, prime time advertisements.
It's like... I think right now there are around 50 million creators in YouTube, and a huge percentage of them really believe that they can build it as to be their career. So we have an amazing pool of creators. I think the extremely unique thing about them is not only that they're different sort of in what they're doing, is also they're extremely different in the sort of why they're creating. They're there to tell their story. They're not paid to make a video for someone else.
It's
the
content for content.
Yeah, reason, this is their expression of themselves. And they want to...
I love that.
And they want to sort of build a business around their identity. And understanding that, we believe, there's ways to build a product that is best suited for them.
All right. That was great, Ira. Usually at the end of our episodes, before we wrap up, we're going to give you a challenge. And we would like you to think about 3 major tips that you can give for entrepreneurs in their journey. Sometimes they're at the beginning of the journey. Sometimes they're in the middle. Sometimes in their growth stage. So just try to give us your best 3 tips for entrepreneurs.
Okay. I'll try to bring tips that weren't here before, hopefully, because probably some of them repeat. So one of them we focused on the beginning, being a bootstrap. I think I have to say, focus on user value more than anything else. So before business plans and all of that, where is your value proposition to the users? What are you bringing to the users that, people focus on UX or other things? user value. Like, what are they taking from your product that they can't get anywhere else, or that is better than what they're currently getting, or disruptive? I would say the other, try to be as egoless as possible. It's not really possible. Everybody has ego.
Control it.
Yeah, put it into good use, I would say. Yeah, try to put the product and company interest ahead of yours, being the founder. Maybe the last one is always sort of be guided by reason. I think reasonable discussion can sort of solve a ton of issues, and a ton of sort of feelings are great, and gut feelings are even better starting off where you don't have a lot of data. But try to rationalize as much as you can every decision you make. And a bonus one, be light, keep things.
Here, careful. Be
Yeah.
light.
Yeah, keep things in perspective.
All right. Thank you very much, Ira.
Very
Thanks, guys.
interesting.
Thanks, Hila. And this was another episode on TLV DNA. And thank you very much to all the audience all around the world. You can listen to our podcast on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and watch it on YouTube. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Thanks, Ira.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Great to be here.